From the pandemic to war and natural disasters like Hurricane Ian, it can be hard to heal in times of tragedy. Joining us now is counselor, master life coach, and the author of Helping Americans Heal, David Essel. David, welcome back to Bloom. It's always so great to see you.
Gail, same here. Love to be with you.
Yeah, and I have another one of your books that I think is so applicable right now, The Ultimate Gratitude Journal, 52 Weeks to a New You.
Yeah.
And that the title says it all. I mean, if you can learn to focus on what is good, it can really be transformative.
It can, and even in natural disasters like you just mentioned, you know, the hurricane or COVID, and the number of people that have lost parents. You know, in the last year and a half, I lost both my mom and dad. And, you know, my grief program, though, changed dramatically, Gail, because for the first time in my life, I was in immense grief. And so I changed the whole way I teach people how to learn grief now and how to deal through grief. And we call it going through mourning, M-O-U-R-N-I-G, to mourning. M-O-R-N-I-N-G. So we give people hope. Yes, there's a time for us to be sad and to cry and to miss, but if we don't have a segue to a remembrance of something beautiful, if we don't do that balance, the grief will go deeper and deeper and turn into anxiety, depression, PTSD, the whole 9 yards. When we created the gratitude journal, you'll see when people get it and they open it up, on column 1, it's Monday through Sunday, and it'll say, what good things am I grateful for today? Because we have to balance the tragedy, the trauma. And then on the other side, it says, what are my challenges for the day? So as I wrote the book after my parents died, you know, and I started realizing that if I wrote both the things that I'm grateful for that my mom and dad brought into the world, which I didn't really appreciate them until I was in my late 20s, okay, quite frank, right? But then I would balance that with the outrageous missing.
Yeah, you know, I didn't know that we had that in common because I lost my parents a year to the date of one another. I mean, they died, you know, on July 8th, 1 year apart. And it was the most devastating time. And it took me years. I mean, just listening to you, I was starting to tear up just thinking about them. I mean, you don't realize the impact. And we were so close, but the impact they had on my life. And then I could not find that closure. I could not stop going down that rabbit hole of mourning.
Right. And so with the book, what we do is we teach you how to balance the two. And I have to tell you something miraculous that happened to me. I fell more in love with my mother and father after they died when I went through this new grieving process. And I created gateways, and we teach all of our clients how to do this, Gail. We create gateways to stay connected to our loved ones who had passed. I wrote a letter every night to my mom for 10 straight months after she passed, connecting with her. And do you know, and this is the most bizarre things, and a lot of people won't believe these things happen, but on the 10th month, she visited me.
Through a dream?
Through an actual visitation where I was wide awake, and she came right to me. Now, it was a visual.
Of course,
right?
yeah,
And my partner's head was on my chest, and I was breathing, and I kept saying, am I here? Am I lucid? You know, is that really my mom talking to me? And then I would check, and my partner's head is going up and down on my chest, and I said, this is real. I mean, you cannot deny reality.
Yeah, no, I believe you. I mean, 100%. I think these things can happen because you create that connectivity. And I remember saying to my mom before she passed, because she was really suffering there towards the end, I always said to her, I said, you know, she goes, I'm not scared of dying. I just am scared of leaving you and the family. And I said to her, you know, even when you're over there and I'm over here, we're still going to connect.
Yes.
And I feel that all the time.
Amen, Gail. And you know, you and I, we've connected like that, right? Every viewer has the same opportunity. I don't have any special gifts. You don't have any special gifts with dealing with people who have passed over. But if we're open-minded and if we call to them, maybe pray to them, thank them for something in writing that they did. You know, a really cute story. My mom was so organized. I still put my clothes out the night before. I still do all the things that she taught me as a little kid, you know, and it reminds me of her. And then I write to her. I've planted gardens for her. And when my dad died, I planted more gardens and plants for him. So they're in our lives constantly. Now, that doesn't mean that I still don't go to intense tears. Just like you said, you got emotional a few minutes ago, right? I mean, I can do that in a heartbeat as well. But that sadness is probably 25% of my interactions or thoughts of them these days. And then 75% is, you know, the memory and and the beauty that they taught me. Now, there's going to be some of our viewers that did not have healthy upbringings, and they're going to say, I don't even want to connect with my mom and dad when they passed over, and that's okay. But the most important thing to do is forgive them and forgive yourself and to move on. And that can be part of the grieving process as well. Not everyone had a happy childhood,
sure.
you know.
And grieving can be anything.
And it can
be any loss. I mean,
right.
A lot of what you're teaching people is things that they can apply to whatever it is that is leaving them broken and hollow on the inside.
A pet. When you lose a pet, if you don't go through the grieving process, you lose a sibling, you lose a job. You know, my realtor in Fort Myers lost his home at Hurricane Ian, right? I mean, devastated, lost 2 cars flooded out, the home flooded out, you know? Like, he is in deep grief right now. And I reached out to him last night and I said, my brother, you know, we've known each other for 40-something years. How can I help you? He said, I don't know. Like, we're in this state of shock. We're trying to do everything we can. I said, I'm going to post on Facebook. Do you know that we have over 150 comments praying for them right now, you know, because we can reach out and use social media for good stuff, not just nonsense, you know? And so that's a way to help people in grief. And I asked him first, is it okay if I do this for you? And he said, oh my Lord, absolutely. Like, I wouldn't have done it without his approval, right? But that's another way, and it's the same, you know, when I lost my emotional support dog, who was part of my counseling business. He came to the office every day 4 years ago. You know, I had immense grief. And I had to write about it every night. And I think journaling is one of the most powerful things we can do outside of working with professionals. There's also grief groups that are available. You can Google wherever you are, you know. But working with a professional and journaling are probably 2 of the most powerful things you can do to help us move through these times.
Man, that was a good one. Thank you so much. I hope you come back soon. We always love seeing you on Bloom. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to connect you with David on our website, WFLA.com/Bloom. And don't go anywhere, because Bloom will be right back.